In this video, I'm going to reveal the top 5 buy it for life cards that just keep going up. These are cards that have stood the test of time, the ones that keep gaining value no matter what the market is doing. My name is Eric Michael. I've been buying, grading, and selling sports cards for the past 10 years. I've seen prices rise, crash, and rebound, and I can tell you only a few cards stay strong decade after decade. They're not hype-based, they're timeless, and collectors keep chasing them because of what they represent. Not just the players, but the stories behind them. Quick note before we start, this video is not financial or investing advice. It's purely for informational and educational purposes based on what I've personally seen in the hobby. So with that out of the way, let's jump in, starting with the card that built modern collecting as we know it. Card number 1 is the 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. PSA 10. So let's take a look at this card and kind of the data behind it. So I'm actually going to go out on a limb here and say that this is actually not a card I would prefer to buy, but this card just keeps going up. It just keeps going up. So the population report is very high. There's over 4,000 tens, which is why personally, it's not a card that I would prefer to invest in long term. But for the purpose of this video, as you can see here, all data, especially in the past year, this card just keeps going up. If you look, it's crazy the returns you can make because this card was $326 10 years ago. And now the last sale is over $4,000. Not sure what the S&P return has been in the past 10 years, but that is going to beat it by a landslide. And you can see this card has gone up and down, and you're going to see this as a common trend throughout these cards. The pandemic, during it, there was a tiny spike. Then they came back down, came back to reality, and they've all been going up ever since. You can see there was a little pandemic here, right? It was up, came back down. So you really could have got this card 2 years ago for like $1,800, $1,900, and now it's just going up. So this card has stood the test of time. Why? I mean, I know why, because people love Ken Griffey Jr., but personally, it's not a card I would invest in long term because I like to invest in things that are a bit more rare. Card number 4. This is a card I love. It is the 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson. Personally, this is an opinion, I think this card is just undervalued. I think this card should be worth a lot more. So if we take a look here, back to our handy dandy market movers, if you look at a 1948 Leaf Jackie Robinson, let's look at a PSA 1, for example. Once again, you had this spike during the pandemic, but at least in the past 365 days, you can see this card has steadily gone up. And once again, this card, it's crazy, the returns. You could have got this card for $1,000 about 10 years ago. Now, this card is worth $8,000. That's an 8 times return. And this is Jackie Robinson's best card. And also, he is not just an athlete, he's an icon, right? He changed culture. He changed racism. He was the first black baseball player in major leagues. That means this card, the way I look at it, and a lot of these cards, it's really a piece of history, okay? Number 3 is the 1981 Topps Joe Montana. Okay, Joe Montana won a bunch of Super Bowls, tremendous quarterback. My personal opinion on these cards from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they've been overlooked for a long time. People have loved cards from the 50s, 40s, 30s, and back, and they love modern cards. However, that middle gap, known as the junk wax collecting era, from late 80s to 90s, but in the 80s, I consider it the junk wax collecting era too, even though it's technically not. Those cards have been overlooked for a long time. They've actually been going up recently here in the past year. But the problem with these cards, because they were so flimsy and they were so common, they were damaged, a ton of them. So high grades go for super premiums. Lower grades obviously don't. So if we take a look at Mr. Joe Montana, or Cool Joe, if you look at his rookie card, 1981 Topps Montana, if you look at and we look at a premium here, a PSA 10, this card has been going up. So you can see during the pandemic, right, it had its little spike, came back down, but you could have got this card for $32,000. And now the last sale is $60. There was a sale for $82. It's kind of all over the place recently. This is a card I was actually looking to buy, but the sales are kind of too like this. But once again, just going back 10 years ago, this card is $12,000, and now it's $60. Joe Montana is obviously a staple in the NFL, But if you look at just, maybe cards a little bit lower, maybe something that's a little bit more affordable, like PSA 8s, same thing, right? It's just been going up over time. You had the little blip during the pandemic of it going up, came back down, but you could see the thing's just been steady. And kind of along with Joe Montana, John Elway, I kind of put them in the same boat. I actually just recently bought one of his rookies. And John Elway, his stuff, you could see, same thing. It's just been steadily going up. 10 years ago, once again, this card was $2,400. Now it's $10,000. Big returns. Number two is a card that you would expect to be on this list, and you would probably expect it to be number one, but it's not. That is the 1952 Topps Mantle. So this is the holy grail of sports cards. Quick backstory, and part of the reason this card is worth so much money. So the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle is not actually Mickey Mantle's first card. His first card is the 1951 Bowman. However, Topps, the company that produces cards that a lot of you guys probably know, their first year, their inception year, the first year they started producing cards was 1952. So that combined with Mickey Mantle equals the cards of Grail. I actually recently purchased my first one of these, and I just kind of purchased it for to hold long term. But these cards are very expensive. It's not affordable for a lot of people. But if you just look at like a PSA, let's look at a PSA 1 here. You can see that. Oh, that's not where to go. Let's go back there. So a PSA 1, this card's just been, it's up and down. So one thing I will say with these cards, the condition matters. So I'll go into that in a second, but not every PSA 1 is made equal. So some look better than others. Some look worse than others. So they do go up and down based on how they look. But you could have got this card for $6,600, $5,900, around $6,000 10 years ago. Today, this card's worth $22,000. Pretty crazy. And if you just go to Market Move or Card Ladder and you look at this card, so Topps Mantle, PSA 1. So check this out. So this card, right, you could see how this card looks. This one's in okay condition. But if you look at one, let's take one that's, one that's sold for a little bit more money. Let's take this one. This card, even though it's a PSA 1, sold for $37,000 instead of $27,000. The reason is because the eye appeal in this card, the coloring is good. These vintage cards from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they get measured a lot on the centering and the eye appeal. By eye appeal, I mean the coloring. How good is the coloring? So you clearly see the coloring on this card is better than something like this. And I believe, is this the card I purchased? I'm not sure. But you could see totally different cards, right? They're both PSA 1s, but they look totally different. And based on that appeal, they will sell for more or for less. The number one card that has stood the test of time, and in my opinion, is my favorite card to invest in, and I believe these cards are low, is the 1933 Goudey Babe Ruth, specifically the number 53. So let's take a look at this card real quick. And so if you look at 1933 Goudey Babe Ruth, this card is interesting because there's a few of them. So there's the red back, which is numbered 149, the green one, which is numbered 181, and the yellow one, which is numbered 53. And then there's also another variation numbered 144 of him swinging. Now, the yellow one is the most desirable or the most expensive because it is the rarest. There's less of them for whatever reason. I can't tell you why exactly. But your boy has been buying these cards for a long period of time. And you can see this card, all it's been doing is really going up. Actually, in the past year, it's based on the sales are wonky and all over the place once again. For the simple reason, like I was explaining with that Mickey Mantle before, because the eye appeal of the card, it'll vary 20, 30%. But over the course of the past, 10-ish years, this card 10 years ago was $1,100. It's crazy. I wish I bought more of them. But now it's $7,000. The reason I love these cards is they are rare. There's not tons of them. And kind of what I was saying about Jackie Robinson, I view Babe Ruth in the same boat. He's a piece of history. He's like a folklore, right? And also he played for the New York Yankees. So Yankee collectors love him. Yankee collectors have a lot of money because they're from New York. But he's like a folklore, right? He's a piece of history. You're not just buying a card at that point, right? Like Joe Montana's rookie card, you're buying a great athlete. Here, you're buying a great athlete plus a piece of history. And I just personally think this card is undervalued based on what some of the other vintage cards sell for. It's just a hunch. It's an opinion. That's why I buy a lot of these cards. But this card has just stood the test of time. All it's done is really gone up. And even during the pandemic, like right here, it really didn't go down all too much. So those are the top 5 cards that have stood the test of time. You have the 1989 Upper Deck Griffey, the 1948 Leaf Robinson, the 1981 Topps Montana, the 1952 Topps Mantle, and the 1933 Goudey Ruth. And I'll leave you guys off with some bonuses here of cards that I think in cards that I'm looking at as potential good investments. So there's a few of them. One I find to be interesting is, this is out of my realm, but the 1977 Topps Luke Skywalker. A PSA 10 just sold for $268,000, which is insane. But these cards are rare. I think Star Wars is obviously a huge thing. I think cards like this are very undervalued. Maybe not anymore because one just sold for $260,000. But this is something I'm looking at personally buying. Also, I love stuff like this, like Tony Gwynn. His like Topps PSA 10. I think that stuff like this is extremely undervalued. These are some of the cards that have been overlooked for a long time, and you can see this card's has been going up and up. I wish I was doing this video a little bit ago before it started to really rise over the past year. But this 70s, 80s, and 90s baseball, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, PSA 10s. There's not a lot of these PSA 10s because they were so flimsy. If you look on this website called gemrate.com, this website will show you gem rates and what percent of cards are PSA 10s. You can see here, this is card of Tony Gwynn. There are 35,000 that have been sent to PSA, and 2% get a 10. Not a lot. They're really, really hard to grade, which is why PSA 10s get a huge multiplier. So this is kind of a bonus of stuff that I wouldn't say has stood the test of time, but it's just stuff I'm looking to personally purchase. Hopefully this video helped you guys out and gave you a little bit of insight onto investing in vintage cards. If you'd like, there's a free PDF down below of exactly what I was talking about in detail of the top 5 best cards to buy. It's free. Go and grab it. It's in the YouTube description. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.